The Mafia boss opened a storage room at midnight. What he found inside shocked him. The rusted pipe was the only thing keeping me upright. I'd been counting the drips from the ceiling, one every 4 seconds, landing somewhere behind my left shoulder in a slow, maddening rhythm. I'd counted to 942 before I stopped. Counting felt too much like hope, and I had made a decision somewhere around drip number 600 that hope was a luxury I could no longer afford. My wrists had gone numb 2 hours ago. My silk dress, Merlot red, selected for a charity gala I would now never finish attending, was torn at the shoulder, stiff with blood that had dried to rust. The chains were real. Cold-forged steel, the kind used on cargo, not people. Luca's little touch of poetry, I supposed. He had always been theatrical. I was in a storage room, his storage room. The great Dario Sforza's warehouse on the Hudson, though no one had bothered to confirm that detail out loud. They hadn't needed to. I'd been inside this building before, 12 years ago, trailing my father during one of those tense, performative peace meeting charades. I'd been 16. I remembered the smell, diesel, river water, something metallic underneath it all, like the building itself had a wound that never healed. Nothing had changed except me. Back then, I'd been the dawn's obedient shadow, half terrified, wholly silent. Now, I was the evidence, the leverage. The thing Luca Mancini had apparently decided was worth more chained to a pipe than walking free in the world. I had pieced it together in the dark, the way you piece together a puzzle when every piece is a blade. Luca wanted war, a clean, total, obliterating war between the Sforza Empire and the Valtieri blood, my father's blood, my blood. He needed both sides furious and blind before either could think. A dead Valtieri daughter found in a Sforza warehouse would accomplish that in under an hour. The problem was that I wasn't dead yet, and I had been close enough to the truth, close enough that Luca couldn't afford to simply let me keep breathing in public. 2 weeks of quiet research, 3 contacts compromised, one of whom I'd liked genuinely. A folder of documents now hidden inside the lining of a coat hanging in my apartment that no one knew I owned. Evidence of his double dealing, his slow hemorrhage of Sforza intelligence to my father's people, his setup of a supply route that would collapse both organizations when it finally detonated. All I had needed was one more day. Instead, I got a blindfold and a car ride and the singular pleasure of Luca's voice in my ear saying, very softly, "The dawn will find you exactly where he needs to find you, Serafina. Consider it a gift." I had not thanked him. So I waited in the dark. 942 drips, wrists raw. Rage banked low and steady behind my ribs like an ember that refuses to go out. If anyone came through that door, I had 2 options, and neither was particularly elegant. The lock turned at midnight. I know it was midnight because the distant church bell on the east side had just begun its 12 slow tolls, sound carrying strange and clear over the rain, when I heard the key. Not a guard's key. Guards use codes now. This was old iron in an old lock, deliberate, almost ceremonial. The door screamed on its hinges, and the silhouette that filled the frame was not Luca Mancini. He was tall enough to block what little light bled in from the corridor behind him. Black wool coat, collar up, silver glinting at his throat. One hand loose at his side, the other holding a small flashlight he hadn't switched on yet. He stood there for exactly 3 seconds before the beam came alive. It found my face. I didn't flinch. I had promised myself I wouldn't give this building the satisfaction of watching me flinch. The light held on me for a long moment. Then it dropped, tracked the chains, the pipe, the blood on my shoulder, the ruined dress. When it came back to my face, something in the quality of the silence outside the beam had changed completely. "You," I said. My voice came out lower than I intended, rough at the edges. The great Il Corvo himself. He didn't answer right away. The flashlight stayed on me, and I stayed still inside it, and the rain hammered the roof overhead like it was trying to break through. "I didn't order this," he said finally. 2 words wrapped in gravel. "No," I agreed. "You didn't. But someone wearing your crown did." The silence that followed that sentence was the most dangerous kind, the kind that precedes a decision. Then Dario Sforza stepped fully into the room, pulled the door shut behind him, and crouched to study the chain lock. I watched his face in the peripheral spill of the flashlight, jaw tight, eyes moving fast, cataloging. Whatever he had expected to find in this storage room at midnight, it was not me. Good. I had spent the last several hours deciding that whatever happened next, I would not be a victim in it. Not a hostage, not a pawn, not a Voltieri girl weeping on a warehouse floor. I had information he needed. He had the key that would open these chains. In the business of survival, that was called leverage. I straightened against the pipe as much as the cuffs allowed, lifted my chin. "Before you decide what to do with me," I said quietly, "you should probably know that your underboss is planning to bury you." He looked up from the lock, and whatever I had expected to see in the eyes of Dario Il Corvo Sforza, contempt, calculation, cold disinterest, it was not this. It was recognition. The look of a man who has been waiting, without knowing it, for exactly this conversation. "Talk," he said. So I did. If you're already hooked, my dark-hearted darling, a quiet subscribe keeps the shadows coming. He cut the chains with a folding knife from his boot. Not a rescue. I want to be clear about that. He crouched in front of me with the efficiency of a man solving a logistical problem, worked the blade into the chain's connecting link, and applied force with the precise economy of someone who has broken things before and knows exactly how much pressure is required. The cuffs stayed on my wrists. He didn't have the key for the locks themselves, but the chain came free of the pipe with a sound like a small death, and I could move my arms for the first time in hours. The blood rushing back into my hands was exquisite agony. I made no sound. He said nothing. He simply stood, stepped back, and watched me with those dark, unreadable eyes while I pressed my wrists against my stomach and breathed through the pins and needles return of sensation. "Luca," I said, when I could speak without my voice betraying me. "Your underboss has been running intelligence to my father for 4 months." Something shifted behind his eyes. Not surprise, not quite. More like confirmation of a suspicion he hadn't permitted himself to fully form. "Proof?" "In my apartment. Coat lining. Inside pocket." I met his gaze steadily. A folder. Printed wire transfers, 3 intercepted messages, 2 photographs of Luca meeting with Emilio's consigliere at a diner in Flushing. I paused. I was going to hand it to a federal contact I trust. Then Luca found out I was getting close. Dario was quiet for a moment that stretched like pulled wire. "Why were you investigating my organization?" The question was reasonable. I had expected it. "Because I was investigating my father," I said. "Emilio has been positioning for something larger than a family war. He's been building a coalition. 3 other families, 2 of whom your people think are neutral. Luca is his access point inside Sforza. I didn't start looking at your house. I followed the money trail from my father's house until it led me to yours." The rain intensified overhead. Somewhere in the building, a door slammed, distant, probably a wind catch, and Dario's hand moved without thinking to the gun at his hip. The movement was instinctive, automatic, and it told me more about the state of his nerves than anything he'd said. He was already compromised and he knew it. "You need to move," I said. "If Luca sent men here to chain me to that pipe, he'll have someone watching to confirm I'm still breathing at a specific check-in time. When I don't show up dead, he'll know the plan has shifted." Dario studied me with an expression I couldn't fully name. Part calculation, part something slower and more careful. He was deciding how much of what I'd said to believe, and how much of what I represented was risk versus resource. I let him look. I had nothing to hide, and I knew it, which is a feeling so uncommon in my family that it almost felt foreign. "Can you walk?" he asked finally. "I've been sitting on a concrete floor for 6 hours," I said. "I can walk through glass if the alternative is staying in this room." The corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, something more reluctant than that. The involuntary acknowledgement that he had not expected this version of me. "My coat," he said, and took it off without ceremony and held it out. I looked at it for half a second. Black wool, expensive, carrying the faint ghost of cedar and smoke. And then I took it and put it on. It fell to my mid-thigh. The warmth was immediate and almost unbearable after hours of cold concrete, and I did not let myself react to it. "Safe house," he said. "Private. No one on my payroll knows the address." "If no one on your payroll knows it, how do I know it?" "You don't." He moved to the door, checked the corridor in one swift look. Yet. There it was, the weight of that word. Yet. The implicit acknowledgement that whatever had just happened in this storage room had changed the arithmetic of our respective situations in a way that neither of us had planned for. I followed him into the corridor. The fluorescent light was harsh after the dark, and I saw him properly for the first time. The sharp jaw, the scar at the left forearm where my father's bullet had kissed him 2 decades ago, the crow-black hair threaded with the earliest traces of silver at the temples. He was 40, maybe 41. He wore the years the way dangerous men wear them, like armor they've stopped noticing. He glanced back once to check my pace. His eyes dropped briefly to the cuffs still on my wrists, to the torn shoulder of my dress visible where his coat fell open. "When we reach the car," he said, voice low, "you're going to sit down, you're going to drink the water in the console, and you're going to keep talking. And if I decide instead to kick the door open at a red light and disappear into the city?" He didn't break stride. "Then Luca wins tonight," he said simply. "And you know what that means for both our families." I did know. That was the problem. I followed Dario Sforza out of his own warehouse and into the rain, chained wrists tucked inside his coat, walking beside the man my father had spent 20 years trying to destroy. The Hudson was a black mirror to our left. Somewhere behind us, in that rusted storage room, the pipe was still dripping. 943. He drove himself. No driver, no tail car, no bodyguard riding shotgun. That alone told me something. Either Dario Sforza trusted no one in his organization right now, or the circle of people he permitted near the address we were headed for was smaller than I'd imagined. Both possibilities were unsettling. The city blurred past in rain-smeared amber and neon. He drove the way he moved. No wasted motion, minimal adjustment, reading the road several blocks ahead. I sat in the passenger seat with his coat wrapped around me, the cuffs cold on my wrists, watching his profile and thinking about the folder in my apartment lining. He handed me the water without looking at me. I drank half of it before I caught myself and slowed down. Showing need in front of a man like this felt like handing him a tool. "Tell me the coalition," he said. So I told him. The three families my father had been quietly assembling: the Ferraris out of Philadelphia, the Marchetti Syndicate in Boston, and a third name that made Dadio's hands go very still on the steering wheel: Rinaldi. Old money, old blood, a family everyone assumed had gone legitimate a decade ago. They haven't, I said. Rinaldi's been laundering through 3 real estate shells my father helped set up. Luca facilitated the last 2 property transfers on Sforza land. It's in the documents. When did you start this? 6 months ago. I looked out at the rain. My father made a mistake in January. He let me see a letter. He thought I was too ornamental to read things carefully. I am many things, but I have never been ornamental. A beat of silence. No, Dario said quietly. You're not. We stopped on a residential block in a neighborhood that existed in that peculiar New York space between gritty and gentrified. Brownstones with recently repainted doors, a wine bar with its lights still on at 1 a.m. He parked in a private garage below a building that looked like every other building on the block, except for the security camera angles I clocked immediately. 3 of them, overlapping fields, no blind spot from any approach. He noticed me noticing. Architect I trust, he said. She doesn't know who paid for the work. The apartment was on the 4th floor. It was nothing like what I'd imagined. Not a mobster's fantasy of leather and weaponry and territorial art, but something quieter. Clean lines, a wall of books that had actually been read, judging by the broken spines. A kitchen that smelled faintly of coffee and something herbal. A large window facing a small interior courtyard where rain collected in a stone basin. He crossed to a cabinet, retrieved a first aid kit, set it on the kitchen counter without comment. Sit. I sat on a bar stool. He produced a small key from his pocket, the cuff key, which he'd apparently had all along, and unlocked my wrists. The cuffs hit the counter with a sound like punctuation. I looked at the raw skin beneath them, purple dark at the edges, and felt the first crack in the composure I'd been maintaining since midnight. His hands were on my wrists before I registered he'd moved. Careful, impersonal, or trying to be, turning each wrist to the light, assessing the damage with the same systematic attention he'd given the chain lock earlier. He opened the kit and began cleaning the abrasions with antiseptic, and when I hissed despite myself at the sting, he paused. Sorry, he said. It was such a simple word. I hadn't expected it from him. Don't be. It's not your fault. It happened in my building. It happened because of Luca. There's a difference. I watched him wrap my left wrist in clean gauze. Do you believe me? About Luca? He didn't answer immediately, which I took as honesty. A man who was going to lie would answer faster. I believe you're telling me what you know, he said carefully. I believe Luca has been behaving strangely for months, and I've been choosing not to look at it directly. A pause. That was my mistake, not yours. Why would you choose not to look at it? He tied off the gauze and set my wrist down with a gentleness that felt deliberate, like a decision. Because he's been my brother in every way that matters since I was 14 years old, he said, and I have been a fool. The flatness in his voice when he said the last 4 words, not self-pity, not performance, just the clean, factual weight of a man confronting a thing he'd been circling for months, was the first moment I stopped thinking of Dario Sforza in the abstract. He was a man who had been betrayed by the person he trusted most. I knew exactly what that felt like. The folder in my apartment, I said. I need to get it before Luca does, if he hasn't already. He hasn't. Dario moved to the window. He doesn't know you talked. He thinks I found an empty room. How long does that hold? Until morning, maybe. He looked out at the rain-filled courtyard. Long enough. Then we have until morning to decide what to do with the truth, I said. He turned from the window. The kitchen light fell across him strangely. The silver at his temples, the old scar, the new tension in his jaw. For a moment, he looked less like Il Corvo, the feared underboss of the East Coast's most powerful family, and more like what he actually was. A man standing in his own kitchen at 1 a.m, realizing the architecture of his world has been quietly dismantled while he wasn't watching. "Yes," he said, "we do." Serafina walked into that safe house knowing she had leverage. But did she know she was already in danger of something far worse than chains? Drop A if you felt that tension the moment he said, "Yet." He found me a shirt, one of his, white linen, too large by a significant degree, and left it folded outside the bathroom door without a word. I stood in his shower and let the water run until it stopped shaking and started thinking. My father would know by morning that I was alive. Luca would make sure of it once the check-in missed, spin it as a failure probably, or try to redirect the blame. Emilio Valtieri had not survived 40 years in this business by being slow to respond. He would move men. He would demand my return. He would call it a rescue. He would also put a bullet in me the moment he understood how much I knew and how I'd spent the last 6 months acquiring it. That was the part I hadn't admitted to myself clearly until now, standing in a stranger's shower in a stranger's building, while the man who owned both stood 10 feet away on the other side of a wall. My father didn't make exceptions for blood. He never had. My mother had figured that out before she left. It had simply taken me longer. I dressed. The shirt was soft and it smelled like him, cedar and something darker, like old wood, and I told myself the warmth I felt was only from the shower. When I came out, he had made coffee, strong, black, served in plain white cups with no ceremony. He was on the phone when I entered the kitchen, speaking in clipped Italian to someone I gathered was Paolo Ricci, the fox, his consigliere, and the conversation was brief and encoded enough that I caught only the shape of it. Something was being confirmed. Something was being moved. He hung up and looked at me across the counter. "Your father made 3 calls in the last hour," he said. 2 to his couples, 1 to the Marchetti family in Boston. He paused. "He doesn't know you're here. He thinks Luca's plan succeeded." Meaning he thinks I'm dead. Meaning he's already measuring the response. His voice was carefully neutral. He called your death an act of war. Something cold moved through my chest. "He's using me," I said. Not a question. "He's been using the idea of you," Dario said quietly, "for longer than tonight." He set his coffee down. "Your father positioned you years ago as the diplomatic face of the Valtieri name. Every public appearance, every charity event, every carefully placed photograph, all of it built a narrative. The Don's beloved daughter, untouchable, symbolic." A pause. "When you're found dead in a Sforza facility, that symbol becomes a weapon." I thought about the gala last night, the careful placement of my table, the guest list, the photographers positioned near the entrance. I had assumed it was vanity, my father's love of surface and display. It hadn't been vanity. It had been staging. "He planned for this," I said slowly. "Not this specifically, but he planned for your death to have maximum visibility." Dario's jaw was tight, which means Luca's offer to him wasn't improvised. They've been building this particular arrangement for some time. The coffee was very hot and very good. I held the cup in both hands, gauze-wrapped, slightly ridiculous, and thought about all the meals I'd sat through in my father's house, all the conversations I'd half heard, all the silences that had seemed like dignity and were probably logistics. "My mother left when I was 9, I said. I don't know why I said it. It came out without permission. She told me on the way to the airport that the Valtieri name was a cage, not a crown, and that someday I'd understand the difference. I set the cup down. I thought I did understand it. I thought leaving my father's household at 22, building my own career, keeping my own counsel, I thought that was the difference. It wasn't enough, Dario said. No. Because I still showed up to his charity galas, because I still answered when he called, because some part of me kept believing that if I was careful enough and smart enough, I could exist inside that world without being consumed by it. Dario was quiet for a moment. My father told me something when I was 17, he said. He turned the coffee cup in his hands, slow, almost absent. He said the cage and the crown are the same object. Whether it feels like one or the other depends entirely on who holds the key. A beat. He meant it as wisdom. I spent 20 years thinking he was right. Now I'm not sure he wasn't just describing his own accommodation with something he'd given up fighting. We were quiet for a while after that. The rain outside had softened from hammering to a steady gray murmur. The courtyard window showed the stone basin filling slowly with collected water, patient, ordinary, completely indifferent to the catastrophe reorganizing itself in Dario Sforza's kitchen. The folder, I said finally. I have a contact, a woman I trust, outside both families. She can get us into my building without leaving a trace. If we move in the next 2 hours before Luca recalibrates. I know a better way, Dario said. Faster, less exposure. Your way or mine? He looked at me directly. Both. Together. The word sat between us on the counter like something newly arrived and unsure of its welcome. Together. I picked up my coffee. All right, I said. Tell me your way. We didn't go for the folder until 3 in the morning. The 2 hours between were a negotiation of a different kind. Mapping what we each knew, triangulating the gaps, building a shared picture of Luca's operation from the 2 different angles of visibility we happened to occupy. Dario knew the financial architecture. I knew the human network. He could trace which properties had changed hands. I could identify which hands had changed them. Together, the picture was substantially more complete than either of us had managed alone. It was, I realized somewhere in the second hour, the most honest conversation I'd had in years. That was the thing about operating inside your own world. Everyone around you is either a potential asset or a potential threat, and there is no neutral conversational ground. Every exchange is positioned. Every disclosure is calculated. I had become so accustomed to speaking that way that I'd forgotten what it felt like to simply say what I knew to someone who wasn't parsing it for leverage. Dario wasn't parsing. He was thinking. There was a difference I could feel in the quality of his attention, present, direct, without the slight film of performance that coated every conversation in my father's house. We retrieved the folder at 3:15. His route, his contact, a man named Enzo who operated a cleaning company and had apparently been quietly loyal to the Sforza name for 15 years without anyone's particular acknowledgement of the fact. We were in and out of my apartment in 11 minutes. I took 2 things, the folder and a leather jacket I'd owned since college that I simply didn't want to leave behind. Dario looked at the jacket and didn't comment. Back at the safe house, he read every page of the folder under the kitchen light, while I sat across from him and watched his face. I had been watching his face for hours by that point, and I had developed an understanding of its language. The stillness meant processing. The slight tension above his left brow meant something had confirmed a suspicion. The one moment he closed his eyes briefly and pressed 2 fingers to the bridge of his nose, that meant a specific grief that he'd decided not to show any further. That moment was when he reached the photograph of Luca at the diner in Flushing. Side by side with my father's man, relaxed, laughing at something. 2 men who looked comfortable together in a way that required history. "How long?" I asked. "That photo was time-stamped 8 months ago," he said. His voice was very quiet. "But from what's in here..." He set the page down carefully. "Long enough that the betrayal predates the photographs." "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. He looked up. The kitchen light caught the silver in his hair, and for a moment he was simply a man sitting at a table with proof of a wound he'd been pretending wasn't there. "Don't be sorry for showing me the truth," he said. "I'm not sorry for the truth. I'm sorry for what it costs you." Silence. The kind that has weight. He stood, moved toward the window, stood with his back to me and his hands braced on the sill. I stayed where I was for a moment. Then I didn't. I crossed the kitchen and stood beside him at the window, not touching, just present, close enough that he'd know I was there without the gesture being anything it hadn't been invited to be. We looked at the rain-filled courtyard together. The stone basin was nearly full now, and the surface of the water was alive with rings from the falling drops, each ring expanding outward until it reached the basin's edge and vanished. "You could have run tonight," he said. "You said it yourself. Red light, open door."
I could have. Why didn't you? I thought about it. The honest answer was more complicated than tactics, and I was tired enough and raw enough that I gave it to him without the usual layer of strategy wrapped around it. "Because I've spent 6 months trying to stop what's coming," I said. "And tonight, you walked into that storage room instead of Luca, which means the universe decided that you were the variable. And I am not in the habit of running from variables that solve problems." A sound that might have been a laugh, or the nearest thing to one he had. That's a very cold way of describing a choice. I am a very pragmatic person. He turned from the window then. We were close, closer than the kitchen required, and his eyes moved over my face with an attention that had nothing pragmatic in it at all. "Are you?" he said. The word landed differently than I'd expected. I had told myself, somewhere in the shower, that this particular complication was not going to happen, that I was operating in a crisis situation with elevated adrenaline and compromised surroundings and the predictable psychological effect of shared danger, and that I was too intelligent to mistake physiological response for anything with meaning. I had been correct on every point. I still stepped forward. He didn't move toward me. He waited. And there was something in that waiting, that deliberate stillness, that was its own form of invitation. My hands found the fabric of his shirt, and I kissed him the way you do when you've made a decision and you're done negotiating with yourself about it. Direct, present, without performance. He kissed me back the way a man does when he's been wanting something for hours and has been too controlled to admit it until someone else moved first. His hands were careful on my face, those hands that had cut chains and cleaned wounds and read every page of a folder that cost him something real. And the carefulness of them was the thing that got under my defenses in a way that nothing blunt ever could have. We were 2 people who had stopped lying that night, and that was the most intimate thing I could think of. The rain kept falling. The basin in the courtyard overflowed. We didn't talk about it afterward. We didn't need to. Some things are clearer without narration, and this was one of them. We were still there at dawn, sitting at that kitchen table with the folder between us and the cold remnants of the coffee, and the city beginning to reconstitute itself outside in pale gray light. "We have to move today," he said. "I know," I said. "Luca will know the plan failed by noon at the latest." "Then we have 6 hours," I said, "to be ready."
Dawn came in slowly, as if uncertain of its welcome. The city below the safe house window rearranged itself from nighttime logic into morning logic. Delivery trucks replacing the last of the night cars, a woman walking a dog with focused speed, a man hosing down the sidewalk outside a restaurant with the particular resignation of someone who does this every day and has made peace with it. Normal. All of it normal. The city had no idea. Dario made eggs. He didn't ask. He simply opened the refrigerator with the ease of a man who knows his own kitchen, and 20 minutes later, there was food on the counter, and the smell of butter and black pepper was doing something complicated to my emotional state. "Tell me about the scar," I said. He looked up from the pan. "My father's bullet," I said. "The one from the Red Hook meeting, 23 years ago." He set a plate in front of me and sat down with his own. A moment of consideration, whether to answer or how much of the answer to give. "I was 23, he said, new to the business, too certain that I knew how a meeting like that should go, too confident in the terms we'd negotiated." He paused. "Your father had agreed to terms. We arrived at the meeting expecting to formalize them. He arrived having already decided to burn them." A beat. The bullet grazed me on the way out. I was the only one of our party who made it to the car. The others? Dead before the car reached the highway. I thought about my father at 40, the man I would have known as a child as simply powerful, as permanent as weather. The man who had sent me to piano lessons and sat at dinner making conversation and kissed my forehead at bedtime, and also, apparently, ambushed 4 men and left 3 of them dead on a warehouse floor. "I used to think he was complicated," I said. "I think now he was simply always exactly what he was, and the complication was mine, my refusal to see it." Dario ate for a moment without speaking. "My father was the same," he said. "Different expression, same architecture. He built this empire on the belief that loyalty could be manufactured through fear and debt, and he was right often enough that it took years to see the cracks." He looked down at his plate. Luca was one of the debts. Sforza saved his family from a bad situation when Luca was 15. My father held that over him for years, not cruelly, but constantly. The way you remind someone they owe you without ever saying it directly. A pause. When my father died, the debt should have died with him. I thought it had. I didn't understand that some debts curdle. "He resented you," I said. "He resented what I represented. The name, the continuation, the expectation." Dario looked at the window. And probably, somewhere in it, me specifically, for not seeing it, for trusting too easily, for being the thing he'd have to destroy in order to become his own man. A quiet exhale. I understand it. I don't forgive it, but I understand it. I watched him. He was a careful man, economical with disclosure, precise with language, and this much candor so early in the morning felt significant. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. He looked at me directly. "Because you told me about your mother and the airport," he said simply, "and because you're the first person in a very long time who has no reason to use what I tell you." I held that for a moment. I could use it,
I said honestly. If I wanted to. You won't. How do you know? Because the woman who spent 6 months collecting evidence against her own father to stop a war rather than start one is not the kind of woman who turns a confidence into a weapon. He picked up his coffee. You're a great many things, Serafina. Dangerous is one of them. Vindictive isn't. No one had described me with that particular precision before. I ate my eggs. After a moment, I said, Paolo Ricci, your consigliere. What does he know? More than most and less than he thinks, Dario said. He suspected Luca months ago, but couldn't find the evidence. He'll be at the Sforza Social Club on Grand Street this evening. Scheduled, unavoidable, and in a position where Luca must also appear. He set down his fork. That is where this ends. You're going to confront him in public. I'm going to confront him with evidence, in the presence of witnesses whose opinion of him matters, in a setting where he cannot walk away without it being seen. His eyes were very dark. The alternative is a private confrontation that ends with bullets and becomes a story he controls. And if he runs before tonight? He won't. He doesn't know I know. A pause. Yet. There was that word again. I'm coming with you, I said. He looked at me for a long moment. I know, he said. Comment below. Dario said Serafina was dangerous but not vindictive, and she knew it was true. Do you think she was falling for him or still calculating? Drop your read below. There were 12 hours between dawn and the social club, and we used every one of them. Paolo Ricci came to the safe house at 9, let in through a protocol that clearly predated me and required no explanation on Dario's part. The fox simply arrived, noted my presence at the kitchen counter with a flicker of something between alarm and recalibration, and sat down. He was 60s, silver-haired, with the kind of face that had been handsome once and was now simply authoritative. The face of a man who had spent 4 decades being the smartest person in most rooms and had quietly accepted the responsibility that came with that. He looked at the folder on the table and then at Dario. How long have you known? He asked. Since midnight, Dario said. She brought it out. Paolo studied me with the precise attention of a man evaluating a variable he hadn't anticipated. Serafina Voltieri, he said. Your father will be looking for you. My father will be looking for a body, I said. There's a difference. Something in his expression shifted, a recalibration complete, a new position taken. He turned to Dario. The document trail is solid. Read it, Dario said. Paolo read. He was faster than Dario had been, a man accustomed to processing information in bulk, to finding the load-bearing facts in a structure and trusting the surrounding material to hold its implied weight. He finished in 11 minutes, set the folder down, and laced his fingers on the table. We need tonight to be clean, he said. Not a confrontation, a disclosure. Agreed, Dario said. The witnesses matter as much as the evidence. If Luca walks out of that room with any room to construct a counter-narrative, we lose half the benefit of having this. Paolo paused. Rinaldi's man will be there tonight. Emilio's people will have someone at the bar. They always do. This has to land so completely that there is no version in which Luca recovers his standing. It will, I said. Both men looked at me. The photographs are time-stamped and geotagged, I said. The wire transfers have account numbers that can be traced to a holding company Luca controls. And one of the intercepted messages, I reached across the table and turned to the 3rd page, is in his handwriting. Partial, But enough. He always wrote the second line of any code in a mixture of English and dialect that was his own quirk, one he thought no one had catalogued. I met Paolo's eyes. I catalogued it. Paolo was quiet for a moment. "Who taught you this?" he asked. "No one," I said. "I taught myself, because it was that or accept a room I didn't choose." He looked at Dario. Something passed between them, a communication too quick and too practiced for me to fully read. And then Paolo nodded once, the nod of a man adding something to his internal ledger. The day moved in the way days only do when they're counting down to something. Slow at the margins, compressed at the center. I slept for 2 hours in the early afternoon, waking to find Dario at the window with a phone pressed to his ear and his expression doing the thing it did when he was absorbing difficult information without showing it. My father had issued a formal statement of grievance to 3 other families. He had named the Sforza organization as responsible for the death of his daughter. He had invoked an old blood oath clause that predated my birth. He had not actually confirmed I was dead. He had simply allowed everyone to assume it. "He's not sure," Dario said when he saw me awake. "The confirmation should have come by now. He's covering the possibility." "He's building deniability in both directions," I said. "If I surface, he can claim relief. If I don't, the declaration holds." "Does that surprise you?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "It just finishes the picture." The social club on Grand Street opened its doors at 7. Dario's presence was customary on Thursdays, expected, unexceptional, routine enough to disarm. We drove there separately from Paolo, me beside Dario in the dark car again, the city by now carrying the particular energy of early evening when the day's business has mostly concluded and the night's business hasn't quite begun. "If this goes wrong," I started. "It won't." "I'm not catastrophizing," I said. "I'm preparing. There's a difference." I looked at him. "If this goes sideways and we lose the room, the folder copies are with 3 people. Your consigliere has 1, I have a contact who holds the 2nd, and the 3rd is in a sealed envelope with my attorney. Regardless of what happens to either of us tonight, the information surfaces." He glanced at me from the road. "You arranged that while I was on the phone." "I arranged it while you were making eggs." Another of those involuntary, almost laughs. "Of course you did," he said. "I'm a very pragmatic person." "So you said." He drove on through the amber evening, and I watched the city pass and thought about the specific quality of this particular night. The way certain nights feel like hinges, like the world turning on a pin that everything before and everything after depends upon. This was one of those nights. I was ready.
The Sforza Social Club on Grand Street had been there since 1962. It looked like nothing from the outside. A green awning, a door with the name of a defunct import company etched in brass, a window that showed only soft lighting and the backs of men in conversation. Inside, it was dark wood and cigarette history, and the accumulated weight of 60 years of decisions that had never been written down anywhere. I had been inside once before, as a child, when my father brought me to meet the then Don Sforza, Dario's father, in some ceremonial display of rival families treating each other with surface courtesy while sharpening their knives under the table. I had been 7. I had sat very still on a hard chair and eaten a biscotti and tried not to stare at the man whose hands looked like they'd broken things. Dario's hands looked like that too. I had stopped noticing until this moment, stepping through the door beside him, when everything clarified. The room knew him immediately. The small adjustments,
a head turning, a conversation pausing, the man behind the bar straightening fractionally, were the involuntary choreography of a room recognizing its axis. Then it noticed me. The pause was different then, less choreographed, more instinctive, the particular silence of people recalibrating a fundamental assumption. Serafina Valtieri, who was supposed to be dead, standing at the elbow of Dario Sforza, who was not supposed to be bringing her here. I kept my face neutral. Dario kept walking. Luca was at the back table. I saw him before he saw us, saw the exact moment his attention tracked to the door with the automatic reflex of a man expecting someone else, and received us instead. He was thick-set and broad-shouldered, with the heavy, dependable face of a man people trusted instinctively and probably shouldn't. For half a second, genuine shock moved through his expression so quickly that only someone watching for it would have caught it. Then he arranged his face into something warm and welcoming. "Dawn," he said, rising. His eyes found mine and the warmth flickered. "And?" A pause constructed to seem natural. "Serafina, you're..." "Alive," I said pleasantly. "Yes." The room was listening without appearing to listen. Paolo had positioned himself near the window, present, visible, holding the folder under his arm without comment. Two capos whose loyalty Paolo had quietly confirmed that morning were at the bar. The man from Rinaldi's organization, sitting with studied casualness near the fireplace, had gone very still. Dario pulled out the chair across from Luca and sat in it. "Sit down, Luca," he said. The four words carried a weight that was entirely in the delivery, the specific flatness of a voice that has decided something and is no longer in conversation about it. Luca sat. What followed was not a confrontation in the dramatic sense. There were no raised voices, no gun drawn, no thrown glass, no the kind of movie violence that I'd grown up understanding was mostly theatrical anyway. Dario spoke in a low, even tone, and Paolo set the folder on the table and opened it to the photograph, and Dario named each piece of evidence with the precision of a man who has been building a case in his head all day and knows exactly where every piece lands. Luca tried 3 times. First denial, flat, practiced, the expression of a man who has rehearsed this contingency. Dario turned to the wire transfer page and named the account numbers, and the denial softened into something murkier. Second, he tried context, an explanation of the meetings, a version in which he was running his own counterintelligence operation without authorization. Paolo produced the intercepted message, pointed to the second line with its unmistakable mixed dialect signature, and set it on top of the photograph. The third attempt was the most human, and therefore the most telling. He looked at Dario directly and said, very quietly, "I did what I thought." "Don't," Dario said. One word. Luca stopped. I was watching Dario's face. The stillness in it wasn't coldness. It was something harder than coldness, because coldness implies an absence of feeling, and this was the opposite. This was a man holding something enormous very carefully, because if he let it move, it would be the kind of movement that doesn't stop. "The Rinaldi connection," Dario said, turning slightly so his voice reached the man near the fireplace without requiring him to acknowledge it directly. "It's documented. The land transfers, the shell company, the timeline." A pause. Whoever in that organization wishes to have a conversation rather than a consequence has until tomorrow morning. The man near the fireplace stood up quietly and left. Dario turned back to Luca. "The capos in this room are witness to this disclosure," he said. "Paolo will manage the formal process. You have 30 seconds to decide how this ends, with your cooperation or without it." Luca looked at the table for a long moment. Then he looked at me. "This is her fault," he said. Quietly, without real venom, The statement of a man who needs to assign the cause elsewhere because the alternative is acknowledging that the cause was him. "No," I said. "This is your fault. I just found the evidence." He looked back at Dario. Something in his face collapsed, not dramatically, but the way old structures collapse. Slowly, then all at once, the weight of the thing finally exceeding the frame. "I'll cooperate," he said. Paolo stepped forward, and Dario stood up and walked away from the table toward the bar, and I followed him, and the room behind us continued in its new configuration. Witnesses holding what they'd seen, Luca's cooperation already shifting the balance of power in measurable and irreversible ways. Dario ordered 2 glasses of his father's private grappa. He handed one to me without comment. We drank. I had expected him to, had said so to Dario in the car on the way back to the safe house, when the night was still technically unfinished and the threads still loose. Emilio Valtieri was not a man who waited for information to come to him. The moment the Rinaldi representative relayed what had happened in the social club, and he would, because men in that position always tell what they know before someone tells them to stop, my father would understand that the plan had failed, that I was alive, and that I was apparently standing beside the enemy. He would come to negotiate. He would frame it as rescue. What I hadn't predicted was that he would come to the safe house. Luca had given up the address during his cooperation, a detail Paolo flagged by phone at 10:40, his voice carrying the careful, neutral tone of a man reporting something he considers catastrophic without inflection. We had 40 minutes. Dario looked at me when the call ended. "We stay," I said before he could speak. "That wasn't, you were going to ask if I wanted to relocate." I set down my glass. "The answer is no. If we run from this, it follows us. It always follows us. Let him come here, to a location that's yours, on terms that are yours. That matters." He held my gaze for a moment. Then, 2 men on the stairs, 1 at the garage, Paolo in the building. "Yes. And you. Beside you," I said. "Not behind you." Something in his face settled into a new position, a recalibration I felt rather than read, a man accepting a partnership that had been assembling itself piece by piece since midnight and was now simply complete. "Beside me," he agreed. My father arrived at 11:14 with 4 men and the practiced bearing of someone conducting a recovery operation. He came through the door already composing his expression into paternal relief, the performance of a man who has been sick with worry and is now overcome with the sight of his daughter alive. He stopped when he saw my face. I had grown up reading Emilio Valtieri's expressions the way children learn to read weather when they live in an unpredictable climate. I knew the relief face and the anger face, and the calculation face and the grief face. I knew the one he used when he was deciding something and wanted you to think he was feeling something else instead. He looked at me and understood that the performance was unnecessary. Something shifted behind his eyes, the surrender of the script, and what remained underneath was, for perhaps the first time in my memory, simply the man. He looked older than I'd noticed. "Serafina," he said. "Father?" He looked at Dario. The look was complex, old hatred and current calculation, and something I hadn't expected, which was something close to tiredness. "You have my daughter," he said. "Your daughter is standing beside me," Dario said. "That was her choice." My father's jaw tightened. "You've seen what I brought out," I said. "You know what Luca was building. You know that if I hadn't ended up in that storage room, if Luca's plan had gone differently, We would all be 3 days into a war right now that none of us would have survived cleanly. I held his gaze. The declaration you issued this morning. Retract it. Serafina, the declaration was based on a false premise. I'm alive. The Sforza organization did not touch me. One of your own contracted assets did. I let that land. Retract it publicly to the same families who received it, tonight. The room was very quiet. My father looked at me for a long moment, the look of a man encountering a version of his child he didn't build and isn't sure he recognizes. "And then?" he asked. "And then we discussed terms," Dario said. Not warmly, but not with aggression either. The voice of a man who has won and knows it, and sees no particular value in cruelty as a grace note. Full terms. The coalition, the Rinaldi involvement, all of it. Transparent, documented. Paolo will facilitate. "And my daughter?" "Is not a bargaining element," Dario said quietly. "She never should have been." My father looked at me a final time. What passed across his face in that second, I've turned it over many times since. The closest word I have for it is reckoning. Not regret, which requires a different relationship to what's been done. Reckoning. The cold arithmetic of a man adding up what his choices have cost and finding the sum is higher than projected. He looked, in that moment, like a man who has run out of room to be what he was. "I'll issue the retraction," he said. He left with his 4 men and the ghost of the performance he hadn't needed. The door closed. The room exhaled. Paolo appeared in the doorway of the kitchen, looked at us, gave the fractional nod that was his version of expressing significant relief, and withdrew. Dario and I stood in the silence for a moment. Then I sat down on the couch, the leather couch where I'd apparently been meant to sleep the previous night in another version of events, and pressed my gauze-wrapped wrists into my lap and let myself feel the weight of the last 23 hours in one complete arrival.
He sat beside me, not close, just present. "It's not finished," I said. "No, the formal process will take weeks. The Rinaldi conversation, the coalition, the structural repairs." A pause. "But the thing that was going to destroy everything, that part is finished." I looked at my wrists. The bruising had deepened to something spectacular, purple and gold and a dark green at the edges, which, under different circumstances, might have been beautiful. "What happens now?" I said, not with distress, genuinely asking. "Now you decide what you want," Dario said. "Not what the Valtieri name needs, not what this situation requires. What you want." I turned to look at him. The question was both smaller and larger than it appeared, and we both understood that. What I wanted was a world that had stopped pretending safety was the same thing as a cage. What I wanted was to stop being useful to forces that would consume me and start being useful to something I'd chosen. What I wanted, and this was the part that had been arriving since 3 a.m. and was now simply here, was to be in the presence of someone who had looked directly at me in the worst circumstances and not looked away. "I want to finish what I started," I said. "The work. The thing I was building before Luca interrupted it." I met his eyes. "I don't want to do it alone this time." The quality of his silence was the kind that answers. He reached across and covered my hands, both of them, gauze and bruising and all, with his, and held them there without making it into a declaration or a performance or anything other than what it was,
the simple weight of a choice. "Then we don't," he said. Outside, the city moved on in its ordinary chaos, indifferent and perpetual. The courtyard was still. The stone basin had finally stopped overflowing, still and reflective now, a small sky looking up at the real one. Dario Il Corvo Sforza had opened a storage room at midnight, expecting a body or a rat or a bag of missing cash. He had found the one woman in New York City who had been quietly dismantling the same threat from the other side of the wall. He had found, though neither of us would have used this word at the time, something that looked, in the particular light of the morning that followed, very much like the beginning of the rest of both our lives. "The cage doesn't have to be a cage," my mother had said. "It depends entirely on who holds the key." For the first time in my 31 years, I understood what she meant. Not because someone had given me the key, because I had taken it. Sarah took the key. She didn't wait for it. Was this the moment you fully fell for her, or was it earlier? Tell me the exact scene that got you.
And there she is, my beautiful sinners. Serafina Valtieri, chained in a stranger's warehouse at midnight, and yet somehow the most free she had ever been by the time the sun came up. She didn't wait to be rescued. She didn't soften her edges to make herself easier to love. She walked out of that storage room with raw wrists and a folder full of truth, and the quiet certainty that some cages only hold you as long as you believe in the bars. And Dario? Il Corvo, the crow, the man who had circled that kind of darkness for 20 years without ever finding a reason to put the feathers down. He didn't fall for a victim. He fell for the woman who could see the whole board and still chose the harder, braver move. That's the kind of love that survives. Not because it's perfect, because it's real. If this story got under your skin, if you found yourself holding your breath anywhere in those 9 acts, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below and tell me your favorite moment, your favorite line, the scene that made you set your phone down for a second just to feel it. Because this channel runs on your voices. Every comment, every share, every person you send this to who ends up watching at midnight with their headphones in. That's what keeps the darkness coming. Next time, we go somewhere even deeper. Stay dangerous, my loves. Stay hungry for the stories that don't make it easy. I'll see you in the dark.